Morning, everyone. We will call the meeting of the Development Committee of February 16th to order. Pursuant to Illinois Attorney General's guidance, public bodies and open meeting acts. County board members may participate without being physically present. We do have a quorum. That being said, roll call, please.
Member Krajewski,
Aye.
Member Covert, here. Member Garcia, here. Member Ozak, here. Member Rutledge, here. And Chair Tornator.
Here, we have a quorum. There's nothing under chairman's remarks. Do we have any public comments this morning?
We do. We have one email public comment. It is from Stanley Nayu, from the law offices of Stanley A. Nayu. It is about Z20-073, Manny Robles appeal from the County Zoning Board of Appeals denial of conditional use. He feels the denial of conditional use should be overturned since the ZBA did not consider the evidence as presented. Group Exhibit 3 are 7 photos which demonstrate unequivocally that there is no impairment of the supply of light or air to an adjacent property. There are no additional buildings which would increase a hazard to fire or other property. The land value would not be diminished as by the testimony of Realtor Soria that many adjacent properties are zoned residential and are operating commercial enterprises. There will be no increased traffic since the petitioner is in the construction industry and has 8 vehicles which do not go in and out of the property. Once Mr. Robles moves the vehicles to a construction site, the vehicles remain there until the end of the construction season when they are parked for the entire winter and part of the spring. The petitioner does not repair the vehicles at the site. As seen from the survey, there is no change in the topography other than the enhancement berm to hide the property from the street. Additionally, neighbor Dominic Pantano testified that the property has been improved and has no objection to the special use. Neighbor Hickman also submitted a letter recommending approval, which is Exhibit 4. No neighbors objected. The DuPage County Health Department has withdrawn its concerns sent to the ZBA under separate cover after hearing. It appears that the ZBA may be confused as to the Robles petition, and at TR3, the chairman said they were reviewing a request to rezone from R4 to I2 General Industrial District, which was withdrawn. The only thing that Robles is requesting is a conditional use under section 37-1413. For all of the foregoing reasons, the conditional use should be granted and the ZBA decision to deny the conditional use should be reversed.
Okay, thank you. And while we appreciate public comment is just that. It's not testimony. This committee does not take in any new evidence, and no new evidence can be presented, but we do certainly appreciate that public comment as well as all others. Moving on to approval of the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 19, 2021.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call, please.
Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Colbert? Aye. Member Garcia? Aye. Member Ozak?
Aye.
Member Rutledge? Aye. Chair Tornator.
All right, and the minutes are approved. We got item 6A, I'll entertain a motion to approve budget transfers to balance budget lines to accommodate fiscal year end adjustment.
So moved, Ozad.
Second.
The motion by member Ozag, second by member Garcia. Roll call, please.
Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Colbert? Aye. Member Garcia? Aye. Member Ozak?
Aye.
Member Rutledge? Aye. Chair Tornator.
Aye, motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 6B, budget transfer to finalize FY20 personnel budget line item adjustments.
So moved.
Motion by member Rutledge, second by member Colbert. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call, please.
Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Colbert? Aye. Member Garcia? Aye. Member Ozak?
Aye.
Member Rutledge? Aye. And Chair Tornator.
Aye, the motion carries. Moving on to item 7A, informational. entertain a motion to receive and place on file the informational staff report 2021 strategic initiative. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by member Rutland, second by member Colbert. Are you going to give us that, Nick? Okay.
So, good morning, everybody. Everybody should have received the 2021 strategic initiatives within your packet. These are, I'm not going to go in depth unless if everybody wants to, but these are an update of the 2020. We have taken and obviously updated where we're at and the timelines that we expect for 21. The one that I do want to call out to everybody's attention that we are extremely proud of, not just in building and zoning, but department-wide, because it's multi-departments, is our permitting system that we've been working on all through the pandemic, between building and zoning, stormwater, transportation, public works. It is a complete, brand new system, multi-departmental, that will have huge impacts for the residents of DuPage County for many, many years. We expect, portions of it have gone live, but it is a massive program and it's a massive undertaking. And I think staff and all the departments have gone all in to make this thing work. We're expecting that program to go live in late fall, early winter. Is that right, Paul? Yep. Around that timeline. So that will be a huge game changer for every department when it comes to permitting. So that one I did want to draw your attention, and that is everybody is putting in a lot of effort on that. And then we have the other ones. I can go through those if you'd like, but they are an update from 2020. So just wanted to kind of bring everybody up to speed what we're doing. Every department is updating their strategic initiatives. And then once it is put on file for each parent committee, it will be added to the overall county strategic initiatives.
Anyone have any questions of Nick or comments? Yes.
I just have a quick question. You're going forward a CRS rating of 6, which is hard. And I'm just wondering if the outreach programs, which I know are always difficult to do in time of pandemic, if like the watershed, Zoom calls and things like that count towards that.
Yes. In fact, we are already at a rating of 6.
Yes.
What we are doing is we received that 2 years ago. What we're doing in this initiative is every year, our ISO CRS group does come and re-rate us, recertify us. So we're going through that process now. And we hope to keep our 6. We don't see any reason why we would have a problem with keeping our 6. We're actually pretty close to moving towards 5. And in terms of the documentation we need to submit to keep that rating, the Zoom meetings, the Zoom pre-application meetings relative to watershed studies, and also applications about, or pre-application meetings about development and special engineers, those are counting towards our CRS certification.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion to accept and place on file in a second. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Member Krajewski.
Aye.
Member Colbert. Aye. Member Garcia.
Aye.
I know we have 12. Yeah, we do. Okay. Some of us roll call. Some of us roll call. All is here. Yeah, you might as well finish up.
Member Ozark.
Yes.
Member Rutland.
There's no pleasing you, Sheila.
We've been dying for voice votes lately.
Okay.
Come on.
I have been alerted by member Rutledge that we have a forum and we don't have to do roll calls. I'm just trying to get everybody into the swing of things, but okay. Moving on to item 7B, I will entertain a motion to approve ECO 0012-21 ordinance Z 2073 Robles. This is a zoning board of appeals recommendation to deny a rezoning from R4 single family residential district to I-2 general industrial, and a conditional use for planned unit development, park construction equipment, and trucks on the gravel portion of the property. This was denied at the ZBA 4-2 with 1 absent. As those of you who are longtime members of this committee, we take all of the motions in the affirmative. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second on that.
Paul, what do you?
Paul, want to fill us in a little bit about?
So this is the piece of property that's part of a larger stretch of residential zoned and residential used properties along Route 53. There are properties that flank this property in the village of Addison that are zoned industrial and used as industrial. But this property, along with about 15 other properties along the stretch of 53, are all still zoned single-family residential and used as single-family residential. We've been working with Addison over the last 5 years to clean up this area because it has been being used by property owners for storage of commercial vehicles and equipment. We were successful in getting these properties cleaned up about 4 or 5 years ago. And where people put their commercial vehicles and equipment was on a property on Swift Road and Lake Street. Working with Addison, that storage yard has now been transformed into a fulfillment center and been annexed into the village of Addison. So all of these vehicles that were previously stored on that site have all come back to these properties along 53. And you heard testimony from the lawyer today, and it was in the public record as well, that this property is similar to other properties in the immediate area, but those other properties are under violation in our adjudication adjudication proceedings as well. The bottom line is that these are single-family residential homes. They're zoned single-family. There's no appetite from the village of Addison to annex them in and change the zoning. And this particular property is being used completely as a commercial storage facility for commercial vehicles, heavy commercial vehicles and equipment, even to the point where they have added fill to the property. They're not meeting any of the setback requirements. There's drainage issues, a whole host of other issues that are associated and attended with commercial use on a residential property. So that's why the ZBA recommended to deny.
And they're currently in violation. That's really the basis of the rezoning.
That's correct. And the violation process has been stayed in order for the petitioner to move forward with this process. So they continue to use the property because they're going through this process. And as soon as this process is over, we'll move back to adjudication to hopefully close out the case.
Any questions of Paul or comments? While it was public comment, it appears that the lawyer's reference to pretty much everybody else is doing it. It's kind of like the person who's speeding and saying he's just following traffic. I mean, it is what it is. So, and we've talked about that, and Vice Chair Garcia and I talked about it the other day. There's a need for properties to store trucks. I mean, these trucks have to go somewhere, and these properties are diminishing every day. However, there are places for them and there are places not for them, I suppose. And this may be one of those that apparently the zoning board of appeals felt was not the place to go. So if there are no further questions, we have a motion and a second. The motion is to approve. So if you agree with the zoning board of appeals, you will be voting no. Roll call, please.
Member Krajewski,
No.
Member Colbert. No. Member Garcia,
No.
Member Ozog,
No.
Member Rutledge,
No.
Chair Tornatori.
No, and motion is denied. Moving on to item C, I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 13-21, ordinance 2087, the William A. Broward Trust. This is an essential and required revision to approve condition to remove condition 2 dealing with the conditional use expiring after 10 years. So essentially it's allowing the condition to remain on the property in perpetuity. Is there a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
The motion by member Rutledge, second by member Garcia. Any questions on this? Is there a particular reason, Paul, that this is being removed? Depending your limitation.
Typically, with all zoning hearing officer cases, typically the hearing officer puts a time limit on these types of buildings and structures that were built without building permits, which this building was. This particular building is built very well. There's no issues with it. Typically, the 10-year time period is to deal with buildings that probably are going to fail at some point, and the property owner is going to take it down. This particular building is very well built. They're in the process of selling the building and the new sellers are struggling with that 10-year time period to have to come back. So we reviewed it with our zoning hearing officer, and the 10-year time period for this particular building on this property doesn't seem to make any sense. It was sort of a standard condition that was put on. And in order to facilitate the sale of the property, they're hoping to get that 10-year time period moved. Now, what that does mean is that will allow this building to stay up in perpetuity. We don't see that there's an issue with that, because while this property is zoned residential now, it used to be zoned commercial. It was rezoned by the county board back to residential to allow for the residential use of this property and the building to remain. But this property is adjacent to a storage facility and a commercial property across the street. So it really doesn't have an impact on the residential properties.
And it just doesn't change the responsibility of the current or proposed property in order to comply with all of our rules and regulations.
Right. Still has to be used domestically, can't be used as commercial. We're just removing the time period. And once again, the time period was to deal with usually buildings that are in bad shape. This building is in very good shape. It received a building permit from the building department about 2 months ago. So it's built and it's passed all of the inspections, so it's a good building.
Member Rosa, I guess your hand.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not quite clear. Is a yes vote for this, allowing the property to be sold, et cetera, but also removing the 10-year date of approval?
It's a yes vote is to remove the 10-year limitation
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
to allow apparently for more easy sell.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Okay, we're gonna call the Rutledge rule on this one, and this will be a roll call vote. Voice vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
We haven't heard that in a long
No,
time.
I know, isn't it feel good?
Any nays? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item D, I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 14-21, ordinance Z 2095. This is the Darien Woodridge Fire Protection District, but I have been alerted by Mr. Haas that this item is being pulled at the request of petitioner. Is that correct? Okay, so strike what I just said. I'm pulling that. All right, moving on lastly to old business. Do we have any old business? Tony, how you feeling? Speaking of
I'm
old,
feeling fine. I just noticed if you don't have a quorum in the room, and I can't see everybody in the room
we do,
except for yourself. Okay, that's fine then. You're okay.
we do. All right,
Tony, a little nervous there.
all right, take another Tylenol. Take care of yourself. Okay, new business. Okay, no new business. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Ah,
Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
what happened to Tony?
Thank you.
He said he's got a cold.